What is up, guys? Today I have a first place Centurion deck profile. Let's get straight into it. Before we get started, there is a giveaway. It will be the Swords of Revealing Light. Very cool. It's from Yugioh's Legendary Decks. It is first edition. So that will be the giveaway for this video. To enter the giveaway, all you have to do is like, comment, and be a subscriber. Memberships are also now a thing, and they come with some pretty cool perks. But Centurion, a deck that a lot of people are excited about, including myself. You guys watched my videos where I opened up a bunch of stuff, like an entire case of Valiant Smashers, just so I could get a core of this deck. I mean, that's not the only reason. Obviously, I needed to open the set for content anyway, but we were chasing Centurion the entire time. Super fast, my thoughts on the deck. It's extremely consistent, but winning isn't very consistent. I mean, I did win one tournament that I did, and then my last locals I went 2-1-1. So do with that information what you will. Maybe I built it a little bit weird, but it's pretty standard, and to get it to run smoothly, there are some contradictions in the deck. For example, running Nib and Fenrir. Those two don't mesh well together, and then Prosperity and Legacia. I do run Prosperity. Desires has lost me way too many games, so I do not run it. But for being a fairly small engine, the deck is pretty consistent because everything is pretty much a one card starter. So I find myself siding out Prosperity quite a bit. But let's get into the deck profile. First up, we have 3 Primera, of course. Primera is the Stratos of the deck. When it is normal or special summon, you get to search any Centurion card, which is obviously really good, and it does have some protection effects. While it is a continuous trap, level 5 or higher Centurion monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects, which is pretty cool. Legacia has some protection as well, the boss monster of the deck, and even the field spell has some protection. So there's a lot of protection aspects of the deck. But when I show you a combo later, the main combo, it will consist of just her, and then I guess one card to discard. But for those of you that don't know, their whole gimmick is they can be continuous trap cards, and then you activate them in the main phase as continuous trap cards to special summon themselves. And then the field spell, if a card is special summoned, will allow you to synchro summon on your opponent's turn, which can lead to some pretty nasty plays. But Calamity, people thought Calamity was going to be the main thing you go into, and a lot of times it is. I would say 50% of the time it's probably the best thing you can do, but your opponent can force you to miss timing on it, so we have some backups for that. So, but 3 Primera, of course, and we're pretty much maxing out the Centurion engine with the cards that are actually good. Up next is 3 Trudea. Trudea kind of facilitates everything, so what you want to do is place her off the field spell, and then you'll activate her effect to bring her up. And then her other effect is she'll come back down and then place another Centurion monster in the spell or trap card zone as a continuous trap, which generally you would want to place Emmett 6 or whoever you're missing, really. And then you can bring that one up. One more thing I forgot to mention is Primera is actually the only tuner of the deck. So that is something to keep in mind. It'd be really cool if she was a tuner, but then, you know, we'd get into a situation where, like Manadium, for example, where you have too many tuners. She's also my favorite art for the deck. Figured I should mention that. But regardless, up next we do run 2 of the Sticky Boy. This is Centurion Emmett 6. He's pretty sticky because during your opponent's main phase, while he's in your hand or graveyard, quick effect, you can target one Centurion monster you control, accept another copy of Emmett 6, place it in your spell and trap card zone as a face-up continuous trap, and if you do, you can special summon this card. And keep in mind it's hand or graveyard, so if you synchro him away, you can still activate that effect and get a 3000 defense on board or 2000 attack. FTKing with this deck is a little bit hard, so it's kind of drawn out. I mean, we have Horus cards to help with that, and I guess Fenrir and whatnot. But that is really his only effect. And then we're going to go into these spells. We play 3 Emblema Oath. Obviously, it's the best spell. You just activate this card and then you get to place 1 down here. So if you start with Emblema Oath or Primera, you are full combo if you're not interrupted. And it does have a secondary effect. You can also set 1 Centurion spell or trap directly from your deck, which is cool because if you're missing the field spell or something and you have, you know, other cards, you can just set the field spell and then activate it. Or you can set the 1 trap that we play if you already have full combo, for example. Keep in mind it does lock you into Centurion monsters, but only while you control a card of that same original name that you place in the spell and trap card zone. For the first effect, I should say. But it is only while you control that card, so once you synchro it away into a Legacia, you're free to move on to, you know, other things. And it's also only an extra deck lock. I should mention that as well. And the last thing we do play, well, I guess second to last, is we do play 3 field spells, of course. The field spell has built-in protection, and it's very cool because it says while you control a Centurion monster card, not Centurion monster. So it says monster card, so regardless of where they are, this card cannot be destroyed. So the field spell has its own protection. And what stand up really does is you'll activate it. And something I appreciate about this card is it's not on activation. You can activate it and then do other things and then come back to it and then actually activate it. So it's not like the planets or, you know, all those other field spells where it's like you activate and then search or whatever you have to do at that moment. It's not like that, but what you do is you will send one card from your hand to the grave and then place a card in your spell or trap card zone, a Centurion monster. And then what makes this deck really good is the second effect of stand-up Centurion, which is if a monster is special summoned, you can immediately after this effect resolve, synchro summon one synchro monster using monsters you control as material, including a Centurion monster. So this is how you would Calamity Lock your opponent. And then the last card we play is we play one Phalanx. It's mostly just an oath target, and I don't really like the counter trap that much, but what Phalanx does is it's kind of like Trap Tricks Pudica, where you would target one face-up monster card on the field, banish it, and if you do during the standby phase of the next turn, you can special summon that monster back to its owner's field. And it is worded like that, so they can't pick like any banished monster like you could with Trap Tricks Pudica, for example. But it does have a secondary effect. You can actually banish it. If it's in the graveyard, you can banish it. And then target one Centurion Synchro monster in your graveyard. Special summon it, but it loses 1500 attack, which is fine. When you're activating that effect, it's mostly so you can Synchro into Crimson Dragon. You just want something to target with Crimson, instead of having to go into like an entirely new Legacia. Or maybe you're out of Legacias. I mean, you never know. That is the whole Centurion package that we play. Short, sweet. I do not play Bonds. I think Bonds is pretty bad and it can be a huge brick in your hand. Up next, we'll do random cards. We do play 3 Fenrir. A lot of different aspects of this deck profile that I'm playing is reliant on discards, and Fenrir just, you know, it's a body on board and then he'll give you a free discard. So obviously we play Fenrir, and I did choose to play Prosperities instead of Desires. As I said at the beginning of the video, Desires just lost me way too many games, and we don't need anywhere near our entire extra deck, so I mean there's really no reason to play Prosperity. Especially going first, you're already going to struggle going second anyway, and you can always side Prosperity out if you're going second. But going first, you don't really need Legacia's effect to go off anyway, because all you're going to do is draw a card. It's not like you can have anything there like you can pop. So that's my reasoning behind Prosperity, and I wouldn't change it. As of now, I should say, I wouldn't change it as of now. Then we have a small Horus package. We do play 3 Imsetis. The Horus package is mostly just to help us, you know, FTK or OTK, whatever the proper one is. It is kind of ridiculous that they don't mean the same thing, but that's just me. And then we do play 1 Happy, and then I only play 2 King Sarks. I only play 2 King Sarks. If you find yourself needing the third, you're probably losing. And with how small the Centurion package actually is, you almost have to keep your deck at 40 cards. You can probably get away with 41, you know, maybe 42, but you want to keep consistency up. So just 2 is fine. I've never missed the third one, literally ever. But that is it for the random, you know, little small engines, I should say. Up next is just some protection and hand trap stuff. I do play 3 Ash, 3 Effect Veiler, 3 DD Crow. I was maining Nib for a long time, but I found myself nibbing. Maining Nib was insane, and I do recommend it, but for this profile that I'm actually going to post, I put in 3 Crows, because if you nib your opponent into Oblivion, I mean, and then you have a Fenrir in your hand, the Fenrir is now useless, but he can always be a discard. Same thing with Prosperity. If you already draw everything you need, or it's in your opening hand, you don't need Prosperity, it's just a discard. Just because the card's in here doesn't mean you have to play it. Then we run 3 Imperm and then 1 Called By, and that gives us our 40 card deck. So let's move on to the extra deck. This is where the actual spice is. It is 3 Legacia. I pulled like 5 or 6 of these, but I sold them all because I thought for sure it was going to be a 2 of, but I found myself needing the third one. I did have to borrow it, and obviously if you're playing online or something, you don't need to borrow a physical card, so just put 3 in. I was messing around with Super Poly for a while, so in my deck box I did have a Mudragon, so I'm just using that as sort of like a proxy, but I would play 3. Then we have Crimson Dragon. Crimson Dragon facilitates everything, obviously. One issue that I did find myself running into during my last locals, in at least half my matches, was I wish I had a second one. I don't know if I would put a second one in or not, but I'm just letting you guys know my experience with it. Then we do have Calamity, so we can Calamity lock Crimson Dragon, go into Calamity during your opponent's turn. We do play Cosmic Blazer Dragon. Cosmic Blazer Dragon is insane. He's pretty much an Omni Negate. He can end the battle phase. He can do everything. and he banishes himself for cost, and then he'll come back. So the fact that you have a 4,000 monster that's an Omni Negate that can just keep coming back over and over again every single turn is just outrageous. It's also like a solemn strike in a way, because when your opponent would special summon a monster, or summon, I'm sorry, it doesn't say special summon, it says summon. You negate the summon, and if you do, destroy the card. And as I said, for cost, it'll just banish himself, and then he comes back. And then in case you're playing a back row heavy deck like, I don't know, Rescue Ace, for example, or Labyrinth or something, I do play Red Supernova Dragon. Red Supernova Dragon does pretty much the same thing where he would banish himself for cost, but you do have to wait an additional turn. But he can't be destroyed by card effects, which is really good. He also has an attack gain like inherent in his like effect. It's for each tuner in your graveyard, he'll gain attack. And there should generally always be one, at least one in your grave, because you need one to get into Legacia. And then Legacia will reborn, not reborn, but like will replace one during the end phase. And I guess I should talk about Legacia's effect. When he hits the field, you just draw a card and then pop a card with the highest attack, non-targeting, which is great. Other than that, he does have a little bit of protection in his effect. Your monsters with less than 2,000 attack can't be destroyed by card effect. Or I'm sorry, battle. They can't be destroyed by battle. But anyway, you need one tuner to go into Legacia. And then during the end phase, he's gonna like replace that tuner, which is Primera. He's going to replace Primera, and then during your opponent's turn, Primera is going to summon. You're going to go into Crimson Dragon, and then Crimson Dragon's going to lead you into this guy or something else. So he should always have one tuner in the grave, which will put him at 4,500 attack, which is nothing to laugh at. And then his actual effect is once per turn when your opponent activates a monster effect, or when your opponent's monster declares an attack. Quick effect. You can activate this effect, banish this card, and also banish all cards your opponent controls. It's really cool because it's just your opponent, and then once per turn during your next end phase, you special summon this banished card back. So you do have to go one turn without him, but your opponent no longer has a field. As I said, it's really good for back row decks. Let me play one SP Little Knight just because it's amazing, and then one Dark, the Dark Charmer. This is really just to help SP get its first effect off, where on summon it can banish a card. But if your opponent has like a super crazy Dark monster in their grave, then now it's yours. And then we do play one Sky Crisis and one Zeus. For our level 8, I did choose to play Din Girsu. Zombie Vampire is also a good option. And then for level 4s, we do have the Exciton Knight, Abyss Dweller, and Baguska. I feel like it's a pretty solid round extra deck. There's not much I would change. I do want to find a different level 8. I've tried a couple and actually don't own Zombie Vampire, so I haven't got the test with that, but Din Girsu like as a whole is really good. And you can always just attack with him and then go into Zeus, or you know, do whatever you got to do. But that is it for the extra deck. Let's get into the side deck. For the side deck, I did play 3 Solemn Strikes for going first. This card, nobody sees it coming, and it's just absolutely insane. Whenever your opponent goes to summon their boss monster, you just Solemn Strike it. Now it's not a thing. 3 Nib, which I played 3 Crows here and then main decked Nib, but I think Nib has a really good place in the side deck, and then we play 3 evenly. This deck does struggle a lot going second, especially if they have any sort of negates up. 3 Droll, and then 2 Lightning Storm, 1 Feather Duster, once again just going second cards. Droll can be first or second, but basically everything except for Solemn Strike is to go second. And if you have a playset of Thrust or something, you could also consider that. A lot of Thrust targets that you could do: 1 Lightning Storm, 1 Feather Duster, 1 Evenly, 3 Thrust, cut Nib to 2, cut Droll to 2, and throw in like a Change of Heart and a Herald of the Abyss or something like that. But that is it for the side deck that I used. Let me show you a 1 card combo, and then we'll do a test hand, and that will wrap the video up. I guess it's kind of a 1.5 card combo because we do need a discard, but let's just say, I mean, you're starting with 5 cards. So let's say you start with Primera. What you're gonna do is you're a normal Primera, activate Effect to search, grab yourself Stand-Up Centurion, activate Stand-Up Centurion, then activate its effect, discard to place 1. We're going to place the Trudea, then we're going to activate Trudea's effect to bring her up, and then activate her effect again, which will bring her back down and place an Emmet 6. We can't special summon her again for the rest of the turn, but we can activate Emmet 6 and bring him up. And then now we can synchro into Legacia and activate Legacia's effect. That will draw us a card. Let's say it's like a Phalanx, something like that. Draw us a card, and then we end our turn. During the end phase, Legacia's effect is going to activate, and we're going to reset the tuner, or place, I should say. We're going to replace the tuner, and then we can just set whatever card we drew, or now we have another Ash, or whatever. And now it is your opponent's turn. These guys are considered continuous traps right now, and their effect says you have to wait until the main phase. So wait for them to do the first thing they do in the main phase. As soon as they activate anything, let's say they activate Rhoda, we're going to Chain Link 2, Chain Link 3 to that, do that, they resolve their Rhoda, and now we have a trigger effect. Trigger effect's going to be Stand-Up Centurion, So we'll go through and synchro summon into Crimson Dragon. And now your opponent has priority. They can activate a fast effect if they have one. If not, you activate Crimson Dragon, target Legacia, bring it back, and then place Calamity, and now you have a trigger effect of Calamity on summon, and now your opponent is Calamity locked. At this point during end phase, I usually bring back Emmett 6 because he has the highest attack, but you could, you know, recycle the tuner. Once again, it just depends on your hand. That's the way we do that, and it helps a lot. Like, that's why Fenrir helps, because if they get one monster on the field, we can just Fenrir, declare into it, banish it, and then attack directly, and then this will be game. But Calamity can miss timing. That's why we have 2 separate options outside of Calamity. Crimson Dragon, if they activate an effect and you chain Crimson Dragon, say chain link 1, I don't know, Imperm. They're going to Imperm Crimson Dragon because they have to stop Crimson Dragon. Let's say they Imperm Crimson Dragon. We're going to chain link 2 Crimson Dragon to bring him back. We have to dodge it. And if we go into Calamity now, Calamity misses timing, so we can't do that. So that's why we have the Red Supernova Dragon or the Cosmic Blazer, which in that situation, if it's fresh in the turn and I have to get rid of Crimson right then and there, I'll probably do Cosmic Blazer. But it's just some things to think about, but that is the 1-card combo, and you can do the same thing with just Trudea. Emmett 6 is kind of a dead draw, and Stand-Up Centurion isn't a 1-card combo by itself. But just to show you guys real quick, let me just show you super fast. Let's say you started with Trudea, because Bonfire is about to come out, and either the next set or the set after, I can't remember. I think it's the next set. We're gonna get a card called Bonfire, which can search a Pyro. She is a Pyro. So say you start with Bonfire, you search her, normal her, activate her effect, bring her back down, and then place Primera. You activate Primera's effect to bring up, and then activate her on summon effect to grab Stand-Up Centurion. Activate Stand-Up Centurion, discard to place, and then you activate Emmett 6's effect to bring up, and it's the same thing here. Now these two go into Legacia. So it's almost the exact same regardless of who you start with. And people, I feel like people are starting to figure the deck out, and they, well, a little bit, so they're like, they know to hit this card. So best case scenario, I mean, you start with both these because it's like normal, and then they'll ash you or imperm you or effect failure or something. It's like, okay, well, that's fine, I already have it. That is it for the 1-card combos. Let me show you guys one quick test hand real quick, and then that will be the end of the video. It's the comment challenge for this video will be, what do you guys think about the deck? Have you played it? Do you plan on building it? Have you played against it? So on and so forth. Just what are your overall thoughts? Do you think it's going to be super meta? All right, let's see what our hand is. Got a Fenrir, Prosperity, Imseti, Happy. That's actually insane. And then a Primera. Okay, this is a super cracked hand. Let's go ahead and special summon Fenrir. Activate Fenrir's effect, search. We'll grab ourselves another Fenrir. Activate Imseti's effect, discarding both of these to grab a King Sark. Grab King Sark, activate King Sark. Inherent summon both of these guys. Normal Primera. Primera's effect is going to search us a field spell. Grab the field spell. We'll activate the field spell. Field spell effect, we obviously don't need Prosperity, but we also don't need the Fenrir. But we'll ditch the Prosperity to place Trudea. Trudea's effect to bring up, and then her effect to bring back down and place another one, which will be the Emmett 6. Activate Emmett 6 effect. Synchro right here for Legacia. Since we didn't activate Prosperity, we can actually activate Legacia's effect. So activate Legacia's effect, get a free draw, which is another Imseti. Totally fine. And then on the end phase, we will do that. And then these two effects that they have are absolutely like insane and kind of a little bit outrageous, especially with King Sark on the field. But so I think this would be worth it. But let's say we didn't have Happy. Let's say we just had Imseti. Now we go to the opponent's turn. They're going to draw, standby main. As soon as they activate a card, we're going to chain link 1, chain link 2, or well, I'm sorry, chain link 2, chain link 3. Bring these guys up. Everything will finish resolving, then stand-up's effect. Synchro summon into Crimson Dragon. And now we just wait for our moment. We would prefer Crimson Dragon not have to be chain link 2. That way we can just bring him back. And then Calamity lock there. Then during our turn, turn him to attack. Use Fenrir to get rid of whatever monster they summon unless they set one face down. But even then we can just attack with Fenrir and this is already game. But let's say Happy's in the grave or something like that or whatever. Let's just see what our draw is. A DD Crow, okay. Can't do anything really with that. But we have a good enough board as it is. The only thing is is if you're just doing Centurion, keep this in mind. If you're only doing the Centurion package, Legacia summon 4. And if you use the Horus package, or if you start off by special summoning Fenrir, you will be playing into Nib. So I guess that's the last thing I wanted to point out, just so you guys can have that in your head. Regardless, that will do it for this deck profile, guys. Be sure to like, comment, and be a subscriber. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.